Welcome everyone to an international journey that reveals an issue that needs our attention. We are going to focus on a critical problem today: Gaza overcrowding, loss of farmland leading to food shortages. Get ready for an engrossing journey that surpasses mere data and press coverage. A sense of suspense permeates the air as we peel back the layers of this quiet crisis to unveil its far-reaching effects. This is a call to action, not just something to say. Join us as we explore the significant effects of overpopulation on Gaza's landscape, where the loss of farmland threatens to force millions of people into a severe food shortage. Stay tuned and get curious. The squeeze on Gaza, overcrowded and overwhelmed. One of the world's most densely populated areas is the Gaza Strip, a narrow strip of territory on the Mediterranean coast that is home to more than 2 million people in just 365 square kilometers. This dense enclave, which has been under Israeli embargo for 16 years, is suffering from an unprecedented crisis that affects every element of everyday life. Living in a camp for Palestinian refugees run by the UN agency UNRWA, Mohammed Salama considers how the camp has changed in the last 7 decades. It was formerly vast with open areas, but now narrow lanes and multi-story buildings dominate the area. The camp, which was intended to be a temporary haven, has developed into a permanent residence, following the general pattern of quick building to accommodate the increasing population. The challenge gets more complex since the region's ability to grow effectively is hindered by its closeness to Israeli occupation borders. These limits prevent nearly 1/3 of Gaza from being extended or built upon, reducing the amount of space available for the city's expanding population. The region's 3% annual population growth rate, or about 60,000 more people each year, exacerbates the problems associated with overcrowding. Due to the space crunch, more people are building new homes and extending existing ones out of need rather than preference. The people of Gaza, strong in the face of hardship, are always adjusting to the limits placed on their physical space. The blockage exacerbates the situation by restricting not only physical space, but also opportunities for economic growth. The harsh realities of scarce resources clash with aspirations for a better life in the center of this overpopulated region. There is a noticeable strain on housing, infrastructure, and essential services. Gaza's overcrowded situation serves as a sobering reminder that immediate action is required to lessen the loads bearing down on the resilient people living there. Not only is Gaza under physical pressure, but it is also facing socioeconomic challenges that call for support, empathy, and long-term solutions. Border woes, the constricted growth of Gaza. The Gaza Strip's proximity to the borders of Israeli occupation places it under geographical restrictions that have stifled the region's growth and development. Gaza's physical borders compound the problem of overcrowding, as the country's population density exceeds 5,000 persons per square kilometer, with up to 20,000 people living in metropolitan areas. Because of its proximity to Israeli boundaries, a large percentage of Gaza's land cannot be extended or built upon, making it far smaller than its nominal size. This restriction impedes the area's natural development and growth, exacerbating the already serious problem of overpopulation. There is a noticeable strain on the restricted area, as Gaza officials report an annual population rise of about 60,000 people, or 3% annually. Limitations on growth not only exacerbate the issue of overcrowding, but also block possible paths for development and infrastructure improvement. The very borders that delineate and isolate Gaza stand in the way of the aspiration to develop more habitable areas, public amenities, and necessary services. The contradiction between Gaza's legal size and the actual boundaries' practical restrictions is a reflection of the day-to-day hardships that its citizens endure. The restricted growth becomes a major hindrance to the general well-being of the region as the population grows. In addition to impairing residential areas, a shortage of space also makes it difficult to create new public places and enterprises, which impedes economic growth. People are stumbling through tiny lanes and crammed neighborhoods, which has a detrimental effect on quality of life. Due to its closeness to Israeli borders, Gaza's growth is restricted, which is one of the many complex issues the territory is experiencing. The physical restriction of the Gaza population exacerbates the problems brought about by overcrowding, resulting in a complex network of problems that require quick attention and action in order to give the people of Gaza a more sustainable and just future. Farmland under siege. The impact on food production. The Israeli occupation and physical limitations have left the Gaza Strip besieged by farming, posing a grave threat that goes beyond its densely populated urban area. The effects of this siege have had a devastating effect on food production, making the already unstable situation for Gaza's citizens worse. Agricultural grounds have been left scarred and barren by Israeli forces' repeated attacks, upsetting the delicate balance required for sustained production. In addition to destroying crops, the ongoing bombing and bulldozing of these fields render large swaths unfit for cultivation in the future. Farmers are now trapped in a disastrous cycle of constant recovery, rather than growth as a result of this unrelenting assault on farmland. The 16-year embargo exacerbates the difficulties Gaza's farmers face. Agricultural production is hampered by import restrictions on necessary supplies, including seeds, fertilizers, and farming equipment. This lack of resources, combined with the devastation caused by war, makes it impossible for those who depend on the land for their livelihoods to overcome it. Gaza's effective agricultural area has consequently drastically decreased, resulting in a state of food insecurity in the territory. More than 70% of Gaza's food supply is currently unstable, according to the World Food Programme, which presents a dire picture of the country's immediate future. The issue affects not just individual livelihoods, but also the region's capacity to support its population. The effects of this siege on agricultural land are extensive. Families that formerly depended on agriculture as a source of income and nutrition are now in a vulnerable situation due to unstable economic conditions and food shortages. An unbalanced combination of increasing population and declining agricultural output leads to extreme poverty and starvation. Local farmers and relief organizations are putting in great effort to lessen the effects of this misfortune. But the problems the siege has created still exist, necessitating immediate attention and action to deal with the crisis's underlying roots. The threat to Gaza's population's food security and well-being is only going to increase as long as the countryside is under siege. Insecurity on the plate. Food shortages in Gaza. The specter of food insecurity looms big in the center of the Gaza Strip, threatening the lives of almost 2 million people there. A startling 70% of Gaza's food supply teeters on the verge of instability, despite the heroic efforts of relief organizations and local farmers, offering a gloomy image of a region coping with the severe effects of overcrowding, political unrest, and a diminishing agricultural landscape. The array of complex difficulties that Gazan farmers must overcome is extremely intimidating. Once fertile fields have become barren and unusable for years due to the ongoing threat of Israeli military attacks and the unrelenting demolition of agricultural land. Now in its 16th year, the blockade tightens the screws even further on the already scarce resources, impeding the import of essential commodities and stunting economic expansion. The local population is severely affected by these difficulties, as daily existence turns into a dangerous dance with hunger. Families are left to struggle with the uncertainty of where they will get their next meal, and geopolitical intricacies compromise the fundamental human right to food. The siege not only makes it more difficult to import necessities, but it also makes it more difficult for the area to establish sustainable local agriculture, further deepening the region's food problem. In light of this, the startling discovery by the World Food Programme that almost 2/3 of Gaza's food supply is unstable increases the urgency of the situation. Though praiseworthy, humanitarian efforts are overextended, and it is becoming more and more clear that long-term international action is required. Due to the crisis's cyclical nature, which is made worse by a population that is rising at an accelerated rate and scarce resources, a comprehensive plan that takes into account both short-term needs and long-term sustainability is required. It is crucial to acknowledge the tenacity of those enduring these difficulties as we go deeper into the details of Gaza's food shortages. Families face daily challenges head-on, but there's no denying that insecurity weighs heavily on them. In order to free the people of Gaza from the chains of this crisis and guarantee that their fundamental right to food is a genuine, living reality, immediate action is needed. Only with coordinated international efforts will we hope to alleviate the strain on Gazan plates and build a path towards a more secure and sustainable future. We appreciate you joining us on this enlightening journey into the core of the Gaza overcrowding crisis. Click the like button to show your support if this video spoke to you and clarify the urgent problem of agricultural loss causing food shortages. Subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell for more thought-provoking stuff. Let's work together to raise awareness of the difficulties that the people of Gaza confront. Talk about this video with your friends to start a change-inspiring dialogue, and I'm asking you to be a positive influencer until we meet again. Remain knowledgeable and involved.